Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Copeland, and I love helping women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s find love again at this time in their life. And I have an amazing guest with me today. Her name is Beth. She was in her late 60s when we started working together, and she found love, and she's going to share her journey with you. Hi, Beth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so glad you're here sharing this because I think you are going to give women a lot of hope. So you are a widow.
Hi.
How long were you widowed before we started working together?
2.5 years, and I had been happily married for 39 years before my husband passed away.
So coming into the dating world, what were some of your fears?
Well, I had a lot of fears. Well, first of all, I hadn't dated in 43 years, and
Mhm.
I knew that dating had changed a lot since I was in my 20s. And the thought was, oh my gosh, everybody like meets somebody online, and you hear all these terrible stories of these scammers, and can you stay safe, and how do you interact with these people, and all of those kinds of things. And fortunately for me, like I'm a reader, and so I found you by reading your book.
Oh,
And that was so I think you really have a way of speaking to each of us in our own situations, and you work with a lot of different women from a lot of different backgrounds and ages and situations. And I realized that in many areas of my life, I'm very confident and accomplished. And yet in this area, I was feeling a total lack of confidence. And I realized that it would be beneficial to work with someone. I reached out to you, we had a call. You were very easy to talk to. You were a great listener, and you were very encouraging. And what I realized is that there's many different ways of working with you, but I loved the composite way of working with you, from individual phone calls, from the group that meets every 2 weeks, from the Facebook group where people can share their questions and get feedback and suggestions from other people. And one of the things that you said really stuck with me, and that was, really in all of life, but especially in this venture, it's 80% mindset and 20% tactical.
yeah.
And that is just so true. And in the beginning, I needed a lot of tactical advice. Um, but I needed a lot of the encouragement along the way too, which was the mindset and the repetition and the reminders and the encouragement.
So, well, thank you on all that. That was great. And so we started working together, and you had an interesting thing about height. Can you
I
tell
did.
me about that?
Right. Well, one of the things I liked about working with you, Lisa, is we didn't jump right into the dating process. We
Mhm.
took time. We went through some sessions where you shared a lot about men, so that I could, and all the women that you work with could understand men better, which I found very beneficial. And I thought to myself, what have benefited from knowing this years ago? But like I got it now, which is to understand men and their desire to be helpful, and how speaking to them in different kinds of ways can draw that response out better than others. And so that was part of it. And then we went through a process of identifying what was important to me and what was important to me now in my life stage now. And so we went through and we identified a lot of qualities. And you did ask too, let's talk about physical qualities. Let's talk about height. Let's talk about appearance. Let's talk about, weight, things like that. And one of the things that you said, okay, so what's your height range? And I'm 5'4", and I said, 5'10" and above. And you talked with me and said, really, like, how tall are you in heels? That's just really 2 inches, kind of a thing. And I said, okay, we can go to like 5'8". I'll go down to 5'8". And so in the process of dating and interacting with different men, either, on phone or text or meeting in person, having dates, I met a lot of people, and I found all of them were gentlemen. So that was very positive. You taught me how to stay safe. You taught us about resources to help in that regard. And there was one gentleman that I was really excited about meeting based on the phone calls that we had had. I liked his energy. He was very positive. He too was a widower, et cetera, et cetera. But I knew the height was going to be, sort of like an issue, because he said he was 5'5" and I'm 5'4". And, in reality, he was really 5'4". Because they always like add an inch, I think. But I realized that that was not the most important thing. That really, it's all the other things that are of far greater importance.
And as I told you, height is an illusion. The reason
Right. A perceived high value
quality.
Right.
Because when you want height, it's usually because you think height, it's a perception of it will give you safety. But what did you find really gave you the safety?
The ability to talk, that someone cared about my feelings, that someone was there to encourage me, that someone that was patient with me in the way that, like I was processing it, etc.
So I will tell you, Beth did have a lot of dates, a lot of dates. And what was that like? Because so many women think I go on 3 dates and I should find the guy. So talk about what that was like, and maybe also how the support helped you not get discouraged, because that's what women do, is they get discouraged.
Right. Well, I set this in the beginning, I set this as a goal. It was a task to be completed, to check off, to find my next person to marry. And I thought, okay, I'll go out there, and I'll complete this in X amount of time or whatever. And I realized that it really wasn't that simple, that I had a lot of learning to go through that too. One of the things that you said is that it's really beneficial to be around male energy. And I found that to be true, because I have many friends, girlfriends, couple friends, I have my family close by. There's many ways that I can get supported and have activity, but I realized that something was missing in my life in terms of, a man, and that going out on dates, it was nice to have someone to talk to that focused on me. It was nice to have somebody open my door. It was nice to have someone, like when I went to the restroom during dinner, that was waiting for me, that might put their hand on my back when we walked, those kinds of things. I just realized that that was really nice. And there were men that I enjoyed their company and I enjoyed their friendship, but I knew that they were not someone that might be longer term prospects. And there was one early on where you said, I want you to have 3 more dates with him. And it was really, one of the things you said was for practice. And I probably went out with him for over a period of 6 or 7 months, maybe 2 to 3 times a month. And it was a friendship, and I enjoyed his company. And it was good practice for me. There were other gentlemen that, one of the things you taught me is that not to date to mate, but to date for the experience of dating. And
to have fun.
And to have fun. And I think, and that it wasn't like a goal to be accomplished, and I really learned a lot in that process.
What do you think the biggest thing is you learned in that process?
Well, one of the things that I think was hard for me in the beginning was I was reserved. So I didn't come across as warm as I really truly am, because I wasn't as comfortable. So there was one guy that I went out with, and because I'm a good conversationalist, I can get people to share about themselves by asking questions. But I'm not as willing to share about myself unless A, I want to with that individual, I feel comfortable, or I see that it might go somewhere. So one gentleman early on in the dating process said, you're really reserved. You hold things really close to the vest. And I thought to myself, good, take note of that, Beth, because that's important for you to hear. And I shared it with my daughter, and she said, that's really true. You need to learn to be able to share more openly without necessarily sharing too much. And you referred to it as emotional vulnerability, which I think is taking some risks in things. But I think it's how to do that appropriately and at different, stages. And I realized that I was doing that. I think you helped me with that. I think also the group that we had of hearing from other women and just the repetition of hearing things multiple times, which helped because of being at multiple stages in the process.
There's a saying that says you have to hear something 7 times for it to sink in.
True. It's so true. It's so true.
And I know women tell me they go back and listen to that program in the group, the Fun Path, and they say, oh my God, I didn't even hear that the first time. They find new things every time. And I think that speaks to what you're saying.
Right. And I think that one of the things that's beneficial is, in addition to the opportunities to connect with you that I mentioned, the Facebook, the small group, and the individual, is that you have these modules that we can go back and listen to, and some of them include videos. And I'm the kind of person that I take notes and I write it down, and you can go back and review that. So it does help for sure.
So let's talk about where you are now.
Where I am now, I've been dating a gentleman exclusively.
Short.
A short, my same height. And for probably since the end of May. What's that, like 6-7 months? There's a lot of things about him that I really, really like and enjoy. He's very easy to be with. In fact, we're hosting a dinner party together tonight. And for other couple, like he likes to cook, which is a great thing, and we've enjoyed that. We spent Thanksgiving together. We're going to spend Christmas together. He enjoys my grandchildren, which I realize is a really important quality for me, especially at this stage of my life. And he's very family oriented, which I am too. So that's where I am. And there's a part of me that puts pressure on myself to try to figure out, okay, to find this, and where are we? And I think that your encouragement has always been just have fun, enjoy the moment in terms of where you are today.
Yeah, because we're always trying to figure out the destination. And then when we're trying to figure out the destination, we so don't enjoy what we have at the present moment. And then you have choice. So he fits your quality man template, which was that clear vision of the right man, especially with the values, would you say?
Yes. And one of the things that we did in working together was that emotional guidance system, I think is what you called it, and I think you taught us to trust our gut on things more, to trust our feelings, to not necessarily be so analytical, which for somebody like me, I think was very beneficial.
And the emotional guidance system, because people don't know what that is how you want to feel around a man. And we went into a meditation, and we met up with this energy, and I was writing while you were talking. And so when you go back and look at that, does it match?
It does. It does.
Yeah. It's so good. So if you could give advice to anyone out there who's afraid to date or who's been stuck dating, what would you share with them? What's the biggest thing that you would tell them to do?
How beneficial it is to work with a coach. I've worked with coaches in business for years. It's always very beneficial. One of the things that I think we all need is that our friends will tell us what we want to hear, and they will side with us. And it's easy to get into an inane and awful situation when things aren't going the way that you want it to be. And one of the things that I think was extremely beneficial about working with you is you were a good listener, but you also challenged me, and that's what I needed to get back on track, and to keep focusing on what my goal was, and to focus on the positive, not the negative, which is the mindset piece of dating. But it's true in all of life, really, I think. And that was probably the biggest thing. But the opportunity to, at the very beginning, when I was like, oh my gosh, I've gotten this message from this gentleman in the dating app. What do I say? How do I go from, this messaging to a call? How do I go from a call to a date? How do I handle the first date? What do I do? How do I dress? What do I say? Oh, he texted me this. What should I text back? In the beginning, the hands-on approach, actually, you were holding my hand in the beginning. You were holding my hand virtually from afar, but I knew that I could reach out to you at any point in time. And that was so important.
Oh, well, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be your guide on this part of the journey. And I'm so happy for you because I've seen the growth from when we first started working, and I've seen you relax into all of this and just enjoy it. And it took you, I would say, about a year, a little over a year to find.
It did.
It's
Right.
not
It
a
did.
2-second process.
And I didn't think it would take that long. But I realized that that was okay, that there was something that I was learning at each stage, and that was important.
Well, Beth, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. And I know if it motivated you and inspired you and you want to talk about working together so you can have what Beth has, there's a link below this video to set up a time for us to talk like Beth and I did originally. And I so appreciate you doing this. And for all of you out there, so believing in you, hope it inspired and helped you. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.